Now let's talk more about what's to come this new year in Washington, D.C. and here in Illinois.
Yeah, we're joined this evening by Pat Brady, the former chairman of the Illinois Republican Party. Happy New Year, Pat.
Happy New Year, guys.
I think the first thing we're going to face locally is this big showdown over whether Mike Madigan's decades-long reign in Springfield as Speaker of the House will come to an end. What do the numbers look like now, and what's your prediction?
Now, he's down about 6 right now. He needs to get to 60, and he's 6 shy. And there's 19 publicly declared that aren't Democrats, House Democrats, that aren't going to support him. So he's got his work cut out for him. But the bad thing from our perspective is the Speaker's willing to do anything to preserve that spot. So he's even talked about a tax increase, which they might jam through in the lame duck session, which is usually where you get a lot of bad behavior. So right now it doesn't look good for him. But I'm more worried and concerned about what might come out of the lame duck session with him being so desperate to stay in power.
The Latinx caucus just announcing that they will be supporting Madigan to remain as House Speaker. But I think the question is, if he is ousted, if not Madigan, who will the Democrats rally around?
Well, a lot of good people that could do it. And the problem with Mike Madigan being this old-time ward boss that he is, and actually the last power broker like this in the country is, he controls everything. He controls the rules. He controls the process. He controls the money. And there are a lot of good people. Stephanie Kipferwood, representatives, already announced she's running, but people like Ann Williams or, like I said, Stephanie announced, Ann Williams, Jay Hoffman, a whole crew of people that would be very competent speakers. And it's probably, I think a lot of Democrats agree, it's time for a change.
So we saw Governor Pritzker's proposal to change the way the tax system works in Illinois. It got voted down in November. Springfield, just like the city of Chicago, just like many suburbs, incredibly desperate for money now after the pandemic and because of structural issues. You mentioned a tax increase possibly coming. What else should we expect?
Well, the big one will be the tax increase. And like you mentioned, he did the big fair tax push, and it was resoundingly defeated by 10 or 11 points. So people in the state, the one thing we all agree on almost universally is we're overtaxed. So the Democrats are going to have to go down and figure out how to balance this budget without raising taxes. Or if they do, they're going to have a price at the polls, I think, in 2 years. So the Democrats are really in a bad spot in the policies they're talking about, this tax increase and other things. There's a disconnect that the Democrats have, I believe, with what the people of this state wants. So this session is going to be very interesting, compounded by the fact that you might not have Mike Madigan there to control things. Or if you do have a Mike Madigan, he's so desperate to hold power, he's going to do anything, including a tax increase and some other policies that may not be necessarily good for the state.
And Pat, turning now to the national stage, what do you think the long-term implications are going to be for the GOP with President Trump still fighting the election results?
I maybe have a different opinion than some Republicans, but I think he's going to be less and less relevant to the party itself the further away he's off it. Republicans will likely get back to their core, that we're the conservative party, get back to the conservative principles, and the president's going to be less and less relevant. But typically, in off presidential years, the party out of power has a pretty good election. I think we will win back Republicans, the U.S. House of Representatives in 2022. And I think here in Illinois, given the problems that the governor's having and the problems they're having with Speaker Madigan, Republicans will probably have a really good 2022 election cycle.
But Pat, you're also the guy who famously sat at this desk on an election night and said there's no way Donald Trump would win the presidency. So you do have that going for you.
I want that.
Sorry to bring that up.
I'm really wrong. I'm not calling it. That was really wrong. But it just the whole kind of the cult of Trump. Even the Kardashians got canceled, right? After a while, it kind of just fades away. And I think we're going to see that. And I don't think he did himself any favor, even with his hardest supporter. This election was it just makes him look silly, and I think diminishes his stature as an elder statesman, former president, like you see like Barack Obama or George Bush or the other presidents that actually behave very well.
And of course, all eyes on Georgia, the control of the Senate hanging in the balance with that race. Any predictions there?
Man, that is so close, but it's going to be another one of those races where the Democrats have banked a lot of early and absentee mail-in votes, and the Republicans are hoping for a big turnout. But I haven't seen a poll either side, it's a greater than 1 or 2 point margin. So that's going to be super close. It's super important. And I kind of wondering what the effect the president's trips down there and some of the things he's been doing the last couple of weeks are going to have on that race. Democrats typically don't do well in these special elections, but this one is just too close to call for both, I think.
Pat Brady, one of the things we love about you is you always admit when you're right and when you're wrong. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for pointing that out, Ben. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what friends are for.
Here, you guys.